If there's one thing China loves to do, it's make heroic movies about ordinary people. It might not look like it, but Cloudy Mountain pays a deep homage to the Railway Army, a group of men, soldiers, who broke their backs and risked their lives to build China's vast rail network. And Cloudy Mountain is all about blowing it up. Hi, I'm the Artie Dance from Asian Film Fans, and I'm going to tell you why you should watch the Chinese action disaster film Cloudy Mountain. And a special thanks to our friends at China Lion for providing a copy of this movie for review. China Lion are the official cinematic distributors for this film in Australia, New Zealand, USA and Canada. Check out the details on the screen for the release date in your area. Where to start? A tunnel, 10 years in the making, is approaching its completion. However, a controlled explosion causes the tunnel to begin flooding due to a miscalculation of the geological composition of the mountain. At the same time, a series of natural disasters triggers an earthquake in the town the tunnel is being built in, and this causes a sinkhole. So far, the disaster count is 3, and that's just the first 20 minutes. The father of the geologist whose job it was to ensure the conditions are safe for explosions comes to visit his son and the progress of the tunnel. He gets caught in the sinkhole trying to rescue people, and time is running out to rescue him as yet another disaster, a landslide, is due to hit the village as a series of aftershocks continues to cause chaos and threaten the lives of 160,000 people. I pose an alternative question. Why wouldn't you watch a disaster film? Disaster films are all about fun, and this movie opens with a bang. It doesn't really give you much opportunity to get to know the characters before the first disaster hits, and then the next, and then the next. So given that this movie moves rather quickly at the start, character development is pretty crude. Want to show the main character has issues with water that he will need to overcome? Throw in some flashbacks of his mother drowning while he's helpless. Want to show that his father prefers the old-fashioned methods and hates technology? Show him in a department store trying to buy an ornamental plant with paper money while the sales agent tries to push him into using digital payments. Crude, hilarious, but strangely very effective. Disaster movies rely on hooking the audience right away, because as we all know, they can't keep up the action and drama all the time. This means the movie needs to ensure it has your attention so that when it gets to the lulls, you're still interested. And the way this movie does this is very typically Chinese. There's a scattergun approach at the start where things happen so quickly and swap between new characters so fast that it will make your head spin. But it takes only a few moments to realise there's only 4 characters you need to follow. The geologist, his girlfriend, his dad, and the manager of the tunnel project. So while the intro and first third of the movie is very action-packed and exciting, unfortunately it does grind to a rather painful halt in the middle third. By this stage though, you're pretty much invested in the movie and want to see it through. Luckily, but it's still a rather obvious and painful section that deals with the father-son issues that were brewing during the opening third. Another painful element is the computer effects. There's a strange thing going on where the good effects are only briefly shown, but the average effects are given lots of screen time. Take, for example, the beginning of the film. What appears to be a drone shot is actually a CGI bridge where 2 of our main characters are driving a 4-wheel drive. All of this looks rather average and it gets a lot of screen time. But then we get to the earthquake and sinkhole scene and some rather exciting shots where derailed trains smash into shop fronts, and these awesome looking effects only last just barely 1 second. More of these, less of the other CGI. And to cap it off is one of the most ridiculous things you've ever seen in a disaster movie. Well, 2 things actually. One involves the father and the other involves the son. I won't spoil, but you'll know exactly what they are when you see them. However, in the end, the movie is still big stupid fun, and that should be your expectation when you approach this. It doesn't bring anything new to the disaster genre, and while it has a rather weak middle where I wouldn't blame if you tuned out for 5 or 10 minutes while father and son sort out some issues that will be important later in the film, The action of the disasters is still worthy enough to make it a watch, especially the packed first 30 minutes. So I give it a thumbs up for that. I enjoyed it. I won't remember much about this film in 6 months, but I enjoyed it. If you've seen this, what did you think? Thank you for watching this review. If you enjoyed this, please press the like button and consider subscribing for future Asian movie reviews and videos.